Jim for coming and representing the film, and Jim is responsible for the music as well, right?
Yeah, I pulled it together. I'm the co-producer, music supervisor, and archivist, along with my partners, Norm Anderson, who's the director, whose mother, Dorset, is he pulled this together for her. And then also Jess Hill, our producer, who in fact goes so far back with Dorset and the Anderson family that he was babysat by Dorset.
I was just going to ask if we had any Donut Dollies here, so welcome.
Thank you.
And we're meeting for the first time. No, she's got a fan club. That's great.
When we first got the film, Donut Dollies, I had no idea what it was. I said, I'm a retired Marine. I had never heard of the Donut Dollies. So thank you for producing the film, and thank you for being a Donut Dolly.
Well, you're welcome. It was a privilege for me, a privilege and an opportunity.
Well, it was, we really enjoyed it. I'm glad we got to share it here. And someone called when we first started promoting the film and said, I think there's a Donut Dolly in Beaufort County. And I said, but then they didn't tell me where that person was. So you probably are that person, so thank you.
The little known secret.
Yeah. Well, Jim, what was the process? I mean, this is obviously has evolved over time, and there was a story that needed to be told, obviously. And how did it all come about?
Well, I'll try to do the nutshell because I definitely want to give you time. So basically, Norm, the director and son of Dorset, up until about graduation of high school, start of college, he wasn't fully aware of his mother's experience in Vietnam. He knew that she had gone there. And then finally, as you saw when, unfortunately, I don't know if you know about Western Massachusetts or Northeast winters, but unfortunately, their shed where her memorabilia were left in got destroyed. And, unfortunately, she lost a lot of memories. And that's, that happens. So he began filming her at that time in an attempt to just document it for the family. And then as it grew, and as she started getting requests to go to Donut Dolly reunions, I don't know if you've been to any, okay, well, they do have them from time to time. And so he started filming and meeting more women and interviewing them, and it grew from there. And about 7 years ago, he sat down with Jess and myself and said, I want to do this. Unfortunately, we're losing these women, and, for different reasons. And in fact, Mary, Dorset's best friend who was there, we lost her just last year. We also lost Wanda, who was in Queen Yan. And then also Bob Johnston, the gentleman with the cafe in Tuiwa. So it extends not only to the women, but the men. And I do want to say, I know we're in a military, community. I want to thank all our veterans, men and women, who served in Vietnam, in Korea, and beyond. And thank you so much for your service. I really appreciate it.
I'd like to ask you, seeing this film, I don't know that you have a lot of memories stored away in your picture book or whatever, but
I'd like to know.
Always the first film I've seen, so I'm sure it was
Well, first of all, I identified so much with all the women that you interviewed because the feelings that we had while we decided to go, and you know, the responses. And the one thing you learn in life is it's the little things that make a big difference in life. And that's what the Donut Dollies did. They reminded somebody of home, their girlfriend. I mean, this was all, you know, explained quite explicitly in the film. And, but you don't realize it when you're, you know, going on that day-to-day basis. It's when you come back, and I think since it's been 50 years, and there's a little bit more of a celebration of service in the Vietnam War, because it was not a very popular war. And, you know, there's a lot of controversy. It wasn't supported back home. But when you were over there, you really felt like you were doing something for your country. But anyway, I think one of the most profound things I've read, and of course now with the internet, you can go and do a lot of research and see YouTube interviews. So there is a wealth of information out there that I never even bothered to look up until I retired and, you know, had some extra time and learned how to use YouTube and go on the internet. Because we didn't have any of that back then, you know. There was just not any instant information. But there was a gentleman over there, his name was Doc Purdue, and he wrote a poem. Yeah. And you've seen these poems. And when I read one little thing in his poem, I thought, that's why we were there. And it said, the Donut Dollies brought a little bit of sanity in this insane world of war. Because, you know, there wasn't always a lot to look forward to, but when we came, that's what the men, you know, we reminded them of home, of their girlfriend, and it was a morale. And then you would play the games, you know, and we would use games that had, similar to the TV quiz shows, Jeopardy, and you would pick topics that they knew a lot about. You would pick sports, or, you know, cities, or just different little things like that. And it took their minds off of that war, that insane world out there. So, and like I say, you knew you were appreciated then, but then as you look back as we get older, and when all those little things mean a lot, you know, you learn how to appreciate just what the Red Cross did for supporting the morale. The Red Cross had a very good program, a very good training program, and very good support for us over there. So my hat's off to them.
And I just want to jump in real quick. Yes, please. We had a little introduction as we were just coming up on the stage. I don't think we had a complete introduction of yourself and who you are, where you served, when you served.
Okay. My name is Martha Spisso, but when I was in Vietnam, we would all sing, I was Martha Fondren. I lived in Jackson, Mississippi. That's where I was from, and but I went to Mississippi State College for Women in Columbus, Mississippi, and the Red Cross had a recruiting program that came by, and of course I said, I saw too many MASH episodes, and and you know, what was that, South Pacific, where, you know, World War II, they were all romanticized. So anyway, I probably lived in a little bit of a, you know, fairy tale land sometimes. But anyway, that sounded pretty exciting to me. Just like a lot of the ladies have said, there weren't opportunities for women back then to serve. And my heroes when I was growing up, one of them was my mother, who was a self-made woman, and the other one was my elementary school principal, who had been a World War II WAC. And she really instilled a sense of patriotism, and so I felt like, you know, it was my duty to go over there. I mean, it was my duty and my opportunity that I had. So anyway, but I was not very sophisticated, and I heard these ladies say naive a lot of times. Well, that's kind of the way we were, because I thought Vietnam was right below South America. It was halfway around the world. how unsophisticated I was, but anyway.
And what bases did you serve on?
Yeah, I
Let's,
was,
just in case.
Yes, I was there from 1967 to 1968, right around the time, that these ladies were there. And my first base was in Fondren with the 101st Airborne. Yeah, so that was pretty exciting, and it was really a base where people checked into country and then they left, so it was sort of a support base, and we had rec centers, and so they came and, we played I played a lot of cards. People said, "What you do for a living?" I played a lot of cards. Pinochle, Midwest, so a good thing I like to play cards. And then the second place I went was in Cunyon, where it was a big support base. And we had rec centers, and we were living in very elegant quarters. We lived in mobile homes there, because before we lived in like a Quonset hut. And I was there, and then the last place I went was a place called Swan Lock, where it was the base camp of the 11th Cavalry, Armored Cavalry. And I lived there with, there were nurses there. We had like a triage hospital. So we lived in quarters with the nurses. So anyway, it was pretty rustic, but you can live without a lot of stuff. So, and you can learn to be a minimalist.
Well, let's open it up for some questions before we run out of time. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Do you know what the nickname was for the Donut Dollies?
Well, I've probably heard a lot of things, but let me hear yours.
The nickname, as far as the troops are concerned, were Round Eye.
Oh, the round eyes,
Oh,
yes.
of course, yes,
Yes.
yes.
When I saw a Donut Dolly, and the other men with me just stared. Just stared, because they hadn't seen a round eye in 6 months.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. In fact, just so you're aware, this film, as a DVD and a digital download's available on donutdollies.com. And also, we've included 35 minutes of bonus features, which include many more photos and videos and interviews. And to your point about the round eyes, there's a photo in there about they're showing two GIs raising a flag that was handmade that says, "The round eyes are coming." There you go,
Any other questions?
Way up in the back.
I just wanted to thank you. I was not in Vietnam, but I was involved. So we were the first
Yes.
place that came after that.
Right.
And my very best friend was a Donut Dolly. She passed away recently for other reasons.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But, she was, there were two there in the hospital. So they were actually serving the people that, the Marines primarily, that were coming back. And then also, they served the physicians and the nurses there. It was just, they made us laugh. Anything as memories floated through my head while this was being shown. Every single thing almost had Barbara's face on it, because she had the biggest smile, and she also was, she was instigated for so many of the things that a lot of us might not have been able to smile about. But she was in all those things that floated through my head while I was watching this.
And you mentioned her name, Barbara.
I heard Barbara Rico was the name over there. So
Okay, all right. Well, just briefly, one interesting thing is that, the Donut Dollies, they serve many purposes. A lot of times when you would, be meeting with the men, you would not, let's say, have time for the games, or they needed to, the men needed to speak to someone. So, quiet corner or, across a card table, you would hear their stories. And I just want to make this point. Every GI who served has their own personal story. Okay? The Donut Dollies, they met hundreds, thousands of men throughout and spoke with them. And a lot of these GIs, before heading home, they needed someone to speak with, someone who would understand what they had just been through and were going home to, quote unquote, the real world again. So the Donut Dollies took on a lot of that, you know, those stories. So rather than just having an individual story, there's many, many, many stories. And that's something that we've learned about a lot in the last few years. And it just goes to show just the amazing strength that these women have.
Well, I want to thank you for coming, especially too, and thank you for bringing the film to us. And
Yes.
Jim, I know that I'm glad you said it's available to view right now.
Yeah.
And I think if you go and look into it, I went to their website and I saw all the things that aren't in the film.
Right.
And there's tons of information there.
And you know, just one additional thing is, if you go to our website, donutdollies.com, up in the top menu, you'll see Donut Dolly Detail. Click on that. It's a feature that we've been doing for a few years. We're going to restart. And what it is every Donut Dolly, well, 60 so far, and we'll get you now. But we have a list of 10 questions, and every Donut Dolly answers the 10 questions, provides photos, and we post it as a free feature on the website. And I'll tell you, some of the women have shared things that they've never shared before in their lives. And it's very well worth it if you're interested in the history of Vietnam or just of brave women.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out.
I would just like to say one other thing. You did music, right? You were responsible for the
I pulled it
music?
together. I sang and wrote the opening song.
Okay, well, I have to tell you, that is one of the things that helped the servicemen survive, is that music that they heard. It was just really wonderful and really was a big morale booster.
There you go. You got to think back to, we got to get out of this place, you know?
That's right.
Thank you very much.